Katy Perry, now 40, finds herself in a courtroom showdown with the family of Carl Westcott, an 85-year-old veteran who sold her a $15 million Santa Barbara estate home in 2020. Westcott, who battles Huntington's disease, abruptly tried to void the sale just days later, arguing that post-surgery pain meds clouded his judgment when he agreed to the deal through Perry's manager, Bernie Godby. Now, the singer-songwriter and Westcott's heirs are locked in the second chapter of their legal battle, each side staking their claim over whether the sale was valid. In December 2023, the court firmly affirmed Perry's ownership of the Santa Barbara mansion. The judge concluded that Westcott offered no convincing proof he was mentally unfit to agree to the sale during the June 10th to 18th, 2020 window when he negotiated and signed the contract, leaving the transaction intact. In turn, the California girl's hitmaker hit back with a countersuit, demanding $3.25 million from Westcott to cover lost rental income during the dispute, which dragged on from September 2020 through March 2024. Perry's lawyers then tacked on another $2.29 million, insisting the home must be returned to the exact condition it was in at purchase. The next chapter of this courtroom battle is slated to begin on August 21st. In an exclusive with the Post, Chart Westcott, Carl's son, reacted to the August 1st ruling that spared Orlando Bloom from testifying. Westcott's legal team had aimed to question the actor about the contested repairs and probe whether he ever lived in the Santa Barbara home with his then-fiancée. Calling the judge's decision unfair, Chart asserted, "Absolutely, it's an injustice," noting that Bloom had informed their property manager he was in charge of repairs and even served as a manager on the LLC that holds title to the house. "He absolutely should be called to the stand," Chart insisted. "This isn't about dragging him into something he's not part of. He's already entangled. It's absurd." The Post confirmed that Orlando Bloom is indeed named as a manager on the LLC that owns the property. Chart added that, in his view, the door hasn't been slammed shut, noting that the Westcott family's legal team is preparing a fresh motion to revisit Bloom's potential testimony. "Honestly, I get the judge's wish to keep the spotlight off this case," Chart said, "but let's be real. Katy and Orlando live their lives in headlines every day. Just because they're celebrities doesn't mean they get a free pass from the court's requirements. Creating a two-tier system for famous people is unfair, and it can't stand." Perry's attorneys argue the singer is entitled to $2.2 million to bring the mansion back to its original state, pointing to serious upkeep failures and structural issues. According to their experts' report, conducted last year, extensive work was required, nearly $1 million to mitigate widespread flood damage from early 2024, major foundation repairs after a large tree fell and cracked one of the outbuildings, and a host of other deficiencies scattered across the property. Perry's lawyers pointed out that Godby struck the deal in July 2020 knowing exactly what condition the estate was in, and that the $15 million price reflected that reality. They maintained that Westcott shouldn't be allowed to cash in on his own subpar construction and neglected upkeep while this case is still underway. Chart and his family aren't backing down, he said. "Katy could have shown compassion and walked away, but instead she's choosing to sue a dying man purely for money. That's who she is here. My father is bedridden, in late-stage dementia and battling Huntington's. Some days he can barely speak. Yet she still presses on. He's holding steady, but his health has worsened," Chart said. "Frankly, we've expected him to pass at any moment for years now as he continues to fade away. There's simply no moral justification for this," he continued. "It's the exploitation of a man whose mind and body are failing, and they're dragging him into court." Chart added, "My father is essentially confined to his bed and barely able to speak. That's been his reality for over a year. Dad's stuck in a hospital bed while Katy Perry is focused on taking his money," Chart shot back. He added that Perry's real behavior starkly contrasts her carefully crafted public persona. "What really gets me is her empathy and compassion act. It's all lip service. That version of her isn't the person I've seen over these past 5 years. I mean, her so-called compassion and empathy are just an act. It's complete nonsense. She's nothing but a greedy opportunist," Chart fumed. Scheduled to testify, he said his wish for the judge is clear. Award her zero damages, tell her to get lost, and remind her she should never have dragged us into this. I can't believe she hasn't even offered an apology. No, I'm sorry for putting you through this. Nothing, he added. It's appalling. Chart concluded, dodging responsibility for her unethical choices is classic her. Honestly, she's a spoiled brat through and through. She's never been forced to face real-world consequences. Chart continued, I'm not excusing her actions, but she seems unaware of the ethical fallout. Her moral compass just isn't fully formed. Meanwhile, Westcott's lawyers counter that Perry's damage claims don't add up. They note that she placed $9 million of the $15 million purchase price into escrow, leaving $6 million subject to the court's ruling in Phase 2 of the trial, per Us Weekly. Their court filing argues, throughout this litigation, Perry sought $3.25 million for loss of use. Yet once the court approved her $9 million escrow deposit, she immediately tacked on $2.29 million in purported new damages, driving her total claim to $5.54 million, nearly the $6 million she still owes. For us, it isn't about the cash. Chart insisted, I don't need a dime. Dad intended a large portion of his assets for charity, yet instead it's lining her pockets. That's just wrong.